Have you ever stopped and asked yourself, what exactly is worry? That anxious knot in your stomach, those racing thoughts that keep you up at night, that tight grip in your chest when you think about the future. What if I told you none of that is actually real? Yeah, I know that might sound a little crazy, but hear me out. What if worry isn't a real thing? Not something happening outside of you, but just a story your mind is telling you. A trick, a mental illusion, a false alarm that keeps going off, even when there's no actual fire. Think about it. Has worrying ever actually stopped something bad from happening? Has it ever truly prepared you for life's uncertainties? Or has it only drained your energy, stolen your peace, and pulled you away from the only place life is really happening? Right here, right now. You know that old song, Don't Worry, Be Happy by Bobby McFerrin? It's catchy, sure, maybe even a little cheesy, but buried in that simple melody is a profound truth, one that ancient Buddhist teachings have been echoing for centuries. The truth is, worry doesn't help us. It doesn't protect us. It doesn't solve anything. In fact, it does the exact opposite. And today, I want to invite you to take a deeper look at this. Because if we can understand the real nature of worry, where it comes from, why it feels so real, and how we can let go of it, then we might just unlock something extraordinary. Peace, lightness, clarity. The kind of happiness that doesn't depend on perfect circumstances, but flows from within. This video isn't just about calming your nerves. It's about challenging one of the most deeply rooted habits of the modern mind. It's about seeing through the illusion that we've all believed for far too long that worrying means we care, that it makes us responsible, or even strong. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. And once we pull back the curtain and really see what worry is, we begin to realize we were never stuck to begin with. So stick around, because in the next few minutes, we're going to explore what Buddhism really says about worry and why the answer isn't in trying harder to control life, but in learning how to let go of what was never real in the first place. Let me ask you something personal. How often do you catch yourself stuck in a loop of what ifs? What if I lose my job? What if something happens to my kids? What if I make the wrong decision? You haven't even had your morning coffee yet, and already your mind is 5 years into the future, building worst-case scenarios brick by brick. It's something we all do. But here's the uncomfortable truth. That entire storm of fear, stress, anxiety, it's not actually happening. Not yet. It's not real. It's the mind projecting into the future. According to Buddhism, this habit of worrying isn't just common, it's a form of dukkha. That's the ancient Pali word for suffering. But not the kind of suffering that life throws at you, like loss, illness, or heartbreak. No, this is self-created suffering. Pain we manufacture in our own heads, all because we're afraid of what might happen. And the crazy thing is, we've normalized it. We've been taught that worrying means we're responsible, that it shows we care. We think if we just worry hard enough, we'll stay ahead of the curve, we'll outsmart life. But Buddhism offers a very different perspective. It says worry is not a sign of strength or care. It's a sign that we've stepped out of the present moment and into a world that only exists in our imagination. And worse, it gives us a false sense of control. You see, the mind tricks us into thinking, if I prepare for every possible outcome, if I plan for every disaster, I'll be safe. But the truth is, no amount of mental rehearsing can protect us from life's surprises. Why? Because life is impermanent. It's always shifting, always changing. That's one of the core teachings of Buddhism, anicca. Everything is temporary. Trying to control the future is like trying to catch smoke with your bare hands. You grasp tighter, but you hold nothing. Now here's where it gets even deeper. The Buddha also taught that worry isn't just about fear, it's about attachment. In Pali, the word is upadana, clinging. We cling to outcomes. We want things to go a certain way. We want people to behave a certain way. And the more tightly we grip, the more anxious we become. Think about it. Have you ever felt yourself spiraling because you were afraid of losing something? A relationship, a job, a dream? That's not just fear. That's attachment. And that attachment is the soil where worry grows. But here's the empowering part. If we are the ones creating this suffering, then we also have the power to stop it. What would happen if, just for a moment, you release that grip? If you stopped obsessing over what's coming next and just return to now? That's not weakness, that's wisdom. And that's the heart of what Buddhism teaches. So no, you don't need to fight worry with more worry. You need to see it for what it really is. An echo from a future that hasn't happened. A story that your mind keeps telling. And you don't have to keep listening. Stick around because in the next part, we're going to explore how mindfulness can help us break that cycle and find real peace right where we are. Let me share something that completely changed the way I see pain and stress. It's a simple teaching from the Buddha, but once you hear it, you'll never forget it. Imagine this. You're walking through the forest and suddenly, out of nowhere, an arrow hits you. That first arrow, that's life. It's the unexpected job loss, the health scare, the breakup. The moment you hear news that knocks the air out of your lungs, it hurts. And yes, that pain is very real. But here's where it gets interesting. Instead of tending to the wound, instead of breathing through it or asking for help, pre-quote, you pick up a second arrow and you stab yourself with it. That second arrow, that's your reaction to the first. It's the worry, the overthinking. The why me? Or what if it never gets better? It's the part where the mind spirals out of control, long after the actual pain has occurred. Now, most of us live our lives not just with one arrow, but with 2, 3, 10, constantly wounding ourselves again and again with our thoughts. That's the metaphor the Buddha used. We can't always avoid the first arrow, but the second one is optional. So how do we stop shooting ourselves with it? The answer is something Buddhism has taught for over 2,500 years, mindfulness. In Pali, it's called sati, and it simply means the ability to see what's happening in your mind without getting caught in it. Picture your thoughts like clouds moving across the sky. Some are light and fluffy. Some are dark and stormy. But either way, you are not the cloud, you are the sky. When worry shows up, and it will, mindfulness doesn't mean you pretend it's not there. You don't fight it. You don't judge it. You just see it. You notice. Ah, this is worry. You breathe. You let it pass. And something profound happens in that moment. You realize, I'm not my worry. I'm the one observing it. And anything I can observe, I can release. This doesn't mean you become passive or indifferent. It means you stop giving your power to thoughts that only add suffering to pain that was already hard enough. Let me give you an example. Say you make a mistake at work. The first arrow, the mistake itself. Maybe you missed a deadline or said the wrong thing in a meeting. Okay, it happens. That's human. But the second arrow? That's the voice in your head that says, I'm such an idiot. I'm going to get fired. I always mess things up. That's where the real damage begins. That's the part that keeps you up at night. Now imagine if instead, you caught yourself in that moment and simply said, this is worry. This is fear. Let me breathe with it. No judgment. No stories. Just presence. This is the power of mindfulness. It doesn't remove life's challenges, but it gives you the clarity and space to respond instead of react. And yet, nothing has happened. The only thing that changed was a thought. That's the trap. We aren't reacting to life, we are reacting to the story our mind made up about life. And if we don't train our mind, it runs wild. The Buddha described the untrained mind as a wild elephant, powerful, unpredictable, even dangerous. But through practice, especially through meditation, we learn to tame that elephant, not by force, but by awareness. There's a practice in Buddhism called vipassana, which means clear seeing. And it's exactly that. You learn to look at your thoughts with honesty, without judgment, without panic. You start to notice how quickly your mind reacts to discomfort, how it jumps to the past or the future to escape the now. And when you see that happening, something shifts. You gain space between thought and reaction. You realize, this is just a thought. It's not reality. I don't have to follow it. That space is powerful. That space is freedom. Imagine what would change if you no longer believed every scary story your mind told. Imagine what it would feel like to rest, even when things feel uncertain. Not because you have all the answers, but because you finally stopped giving your energy to fear that isn't real. You are not the voice in your head. You are the awareness that hears it. And from that awareness, you get to choose what to believe, what to let go of, and what to come home to. The mind can be a trap. But with mindfulness, with practice, with presence, it can also become your greatest ally. Stick around because next we're going to explore what it really means to live in the present and why that's the key to lasting peace. Let's pause for a second. Where's your mind right now? Is it here? Or is it racing ahead to what you need to do later? Or maybe it's stuck in a loop, replaying something that happened last week, last year, maybe even decades ago. Here's something Buddhism teaches, and modern science is starting to back up. Most of our suffering doesn't come from what's happening right now. It comes from our resistance to it. It comes from living in a past we can't change or a future that hasn't even arrived. And that's where mindfulness comes in. Mindfulness is often misunderstood. People think it's just sitting cross-legged with your eyes closed, trying to clear your thoughts. But really, mindfulness just means being here. It means paying attention to your life as it's actually happening. When you're brushing your teeth, you feel the water. When you're drinking coffee, you taste it. When you're talking to someone you love, you're really listening, not thinking about your to-do list. You're present, fully. And when we live like that, something powerful happens. The noise quiets down, the pressure softens, and we begin to see clearly, not through the filter of fear or control, but through presence. Now you might be thinking, okay, but how do I stay present when my life feels like a storm? Great question. The answer is surprisingly simple. You come back to your breath. Right now, try this. Take a deep inhale. Now, exhale slowly. That breath, that's your anchor. That's the now. You're not 5 steps ahead or 10 years behind. You're here. And the more you practice returning to your breath, your body, your senses, the more rooted you become in reality, not imagination. This doesn't mean you never plan or reflect or dream. It just means you stop letting your mind drag you into suffering it invented. You learn to respond, not react. You learn to breathe instead of panic. You learn to notice instead of obsess. If you've ever tried to. And here's the quiet miracle. True peace isn't somewhere you arrive. It's something you return to. Again and again. Every time you let go of a thought and return to the breath, you're coming home. You're not escaping life. You're finally meeting it. You're not ignoring your problems. You're seeing them with a calm, steady mind. And from that place, you make better decisions. You speak with more compassion. You love more deeply. You suffer less. Because the truth is, no amount of worrying will ever give you control. But presence gives you power. The power to choose. The power to see clearly. The power to be free. So next time your thoughts start spinning and your heart starts racing, pause, take a breath. Place a hand on your chest if it helps, and gently remind yourself, I'm here, I'm safe. This moment is enough. And the beautiful thing is, this moment is always available. It's waiting for you, right here, right now. Let's be honest. Letting go is one of those things that sounds simple until you try to do it. Letting go of control, letting go of expectations, letting go of the constant planning and preparing that makes you feel safe, even when it's actually making you anxious and exhausted. If you've ever tried to let go, you know what I'm talking about. And here's the truth that most of us don't admit. We don't hold on because we're strong. We hold on because we're scared. Deep down, we believe that if we let go, everything will fall apart. That if we stop worrying, we'll stop caring. That if we stop controlling every little thing, chaos will take over. But Buddhism teaches something radical and beautiful. It teaches that clinging is not strength. Clinging is suffering. It doesn't protect us. It drains us. It doesn't make life more secure. It makes it more stressful. Just pause and feel into that. How much energy are you using every day to hold everything together, to plan every outcome, to manage everyone's expectations while silently fearing the worst? No wonder you're tired. Now I want you to look at nature. A tree doesn't panic when its leaves fall in autumn. A river doesn't try to hold its current in place. A bird doesn't cling to the sky, it just flies, trusts the wind. There is a deep, quiet wisdom in the way nature lives. It doesn't resist the flow. It moves with it. And guess what? You are nature too. You are part of that same rhythm, that same intelligence. But when we resist that natural flow, when we tighten, grasp, overthink, we suffer. We contract. We cut ourselves off from life's gentle guidance. Now here's the reframe that changes everything. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means giving in. To wisdom. To something bigger than your fear. It means saying, I will still show up. I will still do my best. But I won't destroy my peace trying to control what I cannot. It's not defeat. It's a shift in allegiance. From fear to faith. From control to trust. And trust isn't passive. Trust doesn't mean you just sit back and do nothing. Trust means you listen to your body, to your breath, to the quiet knowing inside you. It means you act when it's time to act and rest when it's time to rest. It means you're no longer a manager of the universe. You're a participant in it, fully present, fully alive, not holding on for dear life, but letting life hold you. So how do we begin? Start small. Notice when you're clenching in your jaw, in your shoulders, in your thoughts. Pause, breathe, and ask yourself, what am I afraid will happen if I let go? Just a little. Then do it, just a little, and see what happens. You might be surprised. The world doesn't fall apart. In fact, it starts to open. Because when you stop clinging, you start living. And when you start living, you realize you never needed to control everything to feel safe. You just needed to trust yourself and trust life. Let's talk about something real, letting go. Not as an idea, not as a quote you see on Instagram, but as a practice, something you actually do. Every day, every moment, every breath. It's because here's the truth no one really tells us. It's letting go isn't a one-time event. It's not a dramatic, I'm done, and everything magically resets. It's a quiet, steady practice, breath by breath, thought by thought. It's waking up in the morning and realizing your mind is already racing and gently choosing to pause, to breathe, to say, I don't need to carry all of this right now. Letting go looks ordinary from the outside, but inside, it's revolutionary. It's the moment you stop chasing answers and start trusting the unfolding. It's the whisper in your heart that says, what's meant for me will find me. And more importantly, what's not meant for me, I don't have to hold on to anymore. I know that's easier said than done, because we've been trained to believe that knowing everything, planning everything, fixing everything is how we stay safe. But here's a radical truth from the Buddhist path. Not knowing is part of the way. Uncertainty isn't a detour, it is the path. Think about the most beautiful turns your life has taken. Did you really plan them all? Or did life surprise you, guide you, open a door you never even saw coming? Letting go isn't about giving up. It's about waking up. Waking up to the fact that your peace doesn't depend on perfect circumstances. It depends on presence, on trust, on your ability to loosen your grip just a little. So where do we begin? We start small, always small. You feel yourself tensing up in your shoulders, your stomach, your jaw. You pause. You breathe in, you breathe out, and you ask yourself, what would it feel like to let go? Just a little. Not forever, just right now. What would it feel like to not have all the answers and be okay with that? To not control the outcome, but still walk forward in faith. This is how letting go begins, in tiny sacred moments of softness. And something beautiful happens when we practice this over time. We begin to trust not just life, to trust these darn, but ourselves. We start to believe that we can handle the unknown, that we can meet whatever comes, not with panic, but with presence. Because maybe letting go isn't losing ground. To trust, maybe it's finding it. Maybe it's where real peace begins. Not because you figured it all out, to trust, but because you've learned to stop clinging to what never really needed to be held so tightly in the first place. So today, start with a breath. Start with a pause. Start with a whisper of trust. And watch what opens when you finally let a little light in. So here we are, full circle. Let me ask you again, what if worry isn't necessary? What if happiness really is closer than we think? Not in some far-off future, but right here, right now. You've probably heard the phrase 1,000 times. Don't worry, be happy. It sounds lighthearted, maybe even a little cliche. But when you really stop and listen to those words, you realize they echo a truth Buddhism has been teaching for centuries, because at its core, Buddhism isn't about becoming a monk or giving up everything you love. It's not about escaping life or running from the world. It's the exact opposite. It's about waking up. Waking up to this moment. Waking up to the breath in your lungs, the light through your window, the fact that you are here, and that is enough. Worry pulls us out of that. It disconnects us from the only thing that's ever real, the present moment. When we worry, we're living in a story, our minds made up about a future that hasn't happened. And in doing that, we miss the one place joy actually lives. Right here, right now. So no, the goal isn't to never worry. You're human. Worry will visit, but you don't have to invite it to stay. You can notice it, name it, and gently return to now. And if something in this video resonated with you, if even one idea made you pause, or breathe deeper, or see things differently, then you're already on the path. Start with a whisper of trust. And watch what opens when you finally let a little light in. So here we are, full circle. Let me ask you again, what if worry isn't necessary? What if happiness really is closer than we think? Not in some far-off future, but right here, right now. You've probably heard the phrase 1,000 times. Don't worry, be happy. It sounds lighthearted, maybe even a little cliche. But when you really stop and listen to those words, you realize they echo a truth Buddhism has been teaching for centuries. Because at its core, Buddhism isn't about becoming a monk or giving up everything you love. It's not about escaping life or running from the world. It's the exact opposite. It's about waking up to this moment. Waking up to the breath in your lungs, the light through your window, the fact that you are here. And that is enough. Worry pulls us out of that. It disconnects us from the only thing that's ever real, the present moment. When we worry, we're living in a story our minds made up about a future that hasn't happened. And in doing that, we miss the one place joy actually lives. Right here, right now. So no, the goal isn't to never worry. You're human. Worry will visit, but you don't have to invite it to stay. You can notice it, name it, and gently return to now. And if something in this video resonated with you, if even one idea made you pause, or breathe deeper, or see things differently, then you're already on the path. You don't need a robe. You don't need a title. You just need the willingness to wake up, to meet your life, not with fear, but with presence. Not with control, but with trust. That's where freedom begins. That's where peace returns. That's where you remember, you are not your worry. You are not your thoughts. You are here, and that is everything. We're not here to tell you what to believe. We're here to remind you that you are not your fear, your thoughts, or your worry. If you want more content like this, grounded, honest, and healing, subscribe and let's keep exploring together.